Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been some time. Today we're going to be diving into something that can make or break your job search, namely your CV or your resume. Whether you're aiming for a new industry or you're looking to refine your skills for a specific role, I've got you covered with best practices to critique and rewrite your resume. Stick around and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to focus on to get your resume in tip-top shape. So I'm going to be talking through 5 different ideas, and the first one is all about defining your target. So the first step is really to have a clear message in your mind about what does your ideal target opportunity look like, what kind of company do you want to work for, what does your dream job look like. So potentially start with a blank piece of paper, do some brainstorming, take some time to get quiet, to still yourself, to get the right kind of inspiration through. A generic resume just won't cut it anymore. That's the reality. You need to be more specific about the types of roles you're aiming for. For example, Leanne, who is focused on roles such as VP of Sales, Chief Revenue Officer, EMEA, or someone like George, who is targeting positions at various startup organizations, very, very deliberate in terms of his aims. So how to do that? 3 pieces of advice. Number 1 is to clarify your goals. So ask yourself, what's the industry or job type that I'm focusing on? And that should obviously, it goes without saying, resonate with your personal aims, your passions, even from an ethical standpoint. Have a clear idea and target in your mind. Number 2 would be to align your experience. So use keywords and accomplishments that fit the job description. So for instance, Sam would emphasize his skills in cybersecurity related work, and he would take great care, of course, to use industry specific language in his resume, in his outreach messaging, and in his cover letter. Number 3 would be to tailor your objectives. So your resume's profile or objective section should be laser focused on what the employer is looking for. It should mirror what they're specifically requesting or asking for, whether it's leadership, government compliance, or specific technical skills. So it's worth kind of taking that approach quite specifically. In the second kind of part of the video today, I want to talk about highlighting your achievements with metrics. So almost kind of proving your experience with demonstrable statistics. So when it comes to achievements, clearly numbers speak louder than words. If you've saved your company millions of pounds or millions of dollars, or you've completed projects ahead of schedule, make that the star of the show. For instance, one candidate I worked with, James, was able to emphasize his achievement of achieving cost savings of $7 million over a period of 2 years. So don't just list it, break it down with metrics. One particular formula that you may want to use is action plus result plus impact. So for example, I led a cost-saving initiative that reduced expenses by $7 million, boosting overall operational efficiency by 15%. Number 2, contextualize your success. It's all very well saying I was 400% over target when the target was perhaps £50, whatever, being a little bit facetious, but you get the point. So don't forget to explain the broader significance. In Oliver's case, this could mean reframing achievements in a way that aligns with what defense contractors look for, like compliance, technical expertise, military experience, for example. The third broad point is to use storytelling in your career narrative. I bore people to tears with this advice, but I'm always telling people to think about the narrative, tell a compelling story. People will always remember stories and how they felt as opposed to what they're necessarily told or shown. And I think this comes from a deep-rooted ancestral kind of factor when people used to gather around campfires and hear stories, talking way before internet, way before TV, way before books, of course. I think the next piece is that your resume shouldn't just be a list of jobs. Clearly, it's your career story, so make it interesting. Take a leaf out of Jane's book, another former client who seamlessly transitions between roles, focuses on building businesses and managing relationships. Jane's experience at Google, where she grew within the company over a period of 17 years, showcases not only what she did, but why it mattered. So what were her achievements? What was the narrative link between each promotion or each transfer between departments? So in terms of what to focus on, two key takeaways in the narrative piece. One is to be factual but engaging. So highlight your roles, but weave in the why as well. For example, I transitioned into a leadership role to focus on driving revenue growth in challenging regions like Southeast Asia, for example. Number two, connect the dots. So help potential employers see how each role is built upon the last. And it's not always clear for an outsider who doesn't know you, isn't familiar with your backstory, to be able to connect the dots. So do it for them, make it easier for them. Did you grow from managing small projects to overseeing multi-million-dollar initiatives? If so, show that journey. Section 4 is part of an emerging debate. More and more these days, we talk all the time about AI and the evolving nature, the impact, if you like, on the talent acquisition scene, the jobs market. One thing that is quite crucial, I would say, is to make your resume ATS friendly. So when we're dealing with ATSs, which are applicant tracking systems, these are the tools that effectively receive and process resumes coming in. Most companies are beyond a certain size are using these to kind of hold a repository and database of candidates, put them in against vacancies, be able to guide them through the process. So it is a big one. Consider formatting, consider keywords. Even if you have an impressive resume, if it's not ATS friendly, it may not even be seen. We even have a rather strange situation now where people are using more and more often AI to sometimes build the resume, to tweak it, to rephrase it, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a very kind of intelligent approach. However, if it's left too AI focused, too generic, and it doesn't have the human touch or the double check, it can then go into an ATS which is AI driven anyway, and within the certain criteria, if it doesn't find it, it would just reject it. Your resume would effectively go into a black hole. So one former candidate I was dealing with, Megan, had a resume that needed a revision to ensure that there were better matching keywords for the role she was targeting, specifically at climate tech firms. So in terms of what you can do, two things to think about. Use relevant keywords. So look at the job description, ensure that you're mirroring those terms in your resume. In the case of the candidate who's looking for jobs in the defense industry or the military, that could mean including terms like, government compliance, procurement management, spend. It could use acronyms which are highly industry relevant. And again, even if it isn't an AI that's screening your resume, if it's a human recruiter who's been trained to look for certain keywords, they clearly need to be in place on your resume. The other point is to keep formatting simple. So avoid overly fancy fonts or graphics that could get scrambled by the ATS. Far better to stick with clear, concise sections like experience, skills, and education. The last element to this is to format the resume for readability and clarity. Communication is so important. We talked about storytelling earlier in the video. It's just as important to have very, very clear, succinct messaging. So even beyond the ATS, formatting matters. Stuart, as a good example, prefers a clean and efficient resume format, and that's what you should aim for too. And here is how to keep those things readable, or how to keep your content readable. Number one, use bullet points. Avoid long paragraphs. Stick to bullet points that are easy to scan, particularly if they are containing very concise, succinct, and compelling messaging. So, for example, your achievements, or the 3 things that you bring to the table, or 3 high-impact actions that you delivered in the past, put them in bullet points. The other point is a consistent layout. Make sure that each section follows a logical order. So use bold font for company names, italics for dates, and standard fonts for just about everything else. Above all, keep it clean and organized. That's of paramount importance. So, I hope that video was useful for you and it contains some handy tips that you can action. If you are looking for more personalized advice, career coaching, you're preparing for a big interview, you're not breaking through with your resume as it is now, please do book in a call with me. I'll be happy to have a free 15-minute conversation with you to explore whether our range of services can be of use to you. In the meantime, please do hit the subscribe button. That would be very much appreciated. Feel free to comment below with any additional comments or questions. Hope that was useful. There you have it. Best practices to critique and rewrite your resume like a pro. Remember, it's all about tailoring to your target, showcasing measurable achievements, and optimizing for both the human reader and the ATS. I will look forward to hearing your comments and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much, guys.